Please join us in welcoming CEO of Equinox Hotels, Chris Norton, in conversation with Skift Editor-in-Chief, Sarah Kopit.
Thanks, Chris.
Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so.
They're still here at the end of the day, and everybody's
Still here
it's amazing.
in the rain. It's very impressive. Thank you. So first, why don't you tell us a little bit about Equinox Hotels? For anyone who is a New Yorker, you probably recognize the brand as a gym. But tell us about the hotel.
So Equinox has been around for about 30 years. Started up on the west side and grew into a powerhouse over the decades, ending up today with over 100 locations, mostly New York, San Francisco, LA, London, and expanding. And years ago thought that they wanted to keep morphing and expanding the brand that started as a gym club brand into a luxury lifestyle brand. And so one of the strategies was to first stretch the brand into hospitality. And so I remember getting a call from Stephen Ross, who is one of the main investors in the brand. And I back then was with another company, and he thought that maybe we should partner, and we would drop on the operating engine, they would do the brand piece, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually, I got the call, and we decided to do it together. So it was a big strategic move to keep morphing the brand. And today, if you remember, and if you go to one of our clubs, it's a community of people that are very like-minded.
Yeah.
And if you think some of our clubs, the average stay in is 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So it's more than just exercise.
Yeah, I was an Equinox member for a short period of time. I was telling you earlier, I thought maybe if I joined a really fancy, really good smelling gym, because it smells like eucalyptus, it's really great, I would go, but alas, didn't really work out.
Yet.
Yet. Yes,
Well,
I also have small children, so maybe someday.
They'll come soon. They'll come.
There you go. So when others that are pivoting from a different sort of experience into hospitality, sometimes they hire other operators to run the hotel for them. But you guys are doing it on your own. Why'd you make that choice?
Independence. I think we have a very strong point of view, and we want to control our destiny. Very high standards, obsessed with detail. Yeah. So it's easy to do it yourself instead of relying on somebody else.
So you talked a little bit about Mr. Ross. Is Related, who's your parent company, looking to sell the property?
No, actually there was a misunderstanding in the market. There's 3 different partners, and one of them was going to exit since early on, had an exit strategy and was going to take their piece out. We were always going to stay in, actually on the buying side. Okay.
So you're in New York. Where are you moving to? What's next? What geographies and locations?
So when you open a chain, it's the best city to open in. It's like opening on Broadway. So the whole world comes to New York. So the strategy was to go North America urban, with flanking it with 2 resort destinations: West Coast Mexico, East Coast the Caribbean, and then look international. And international look mostly at big gateway cities combined with resorts, for example, in Madrid, Ibiza.
Do you have a timeline? Where's your next one?
Either Mexico or the Middle East.
Oh, interesting.
2 years.
2 years, okay. Why not LA? LA seems to be like a great fit.
Coming.
Yeah?
So we're actually just negotiating to sign our contract in LA. We're looking at something, I can't announce what it is, but of course we want to be in LA and we want to be in Miami. So they're like key markets for us in the US to be in.
All right, well, when you do that, you come to Skift first,
call
okay?
You first,
yeah, exactly. So I was just reading that Equinox, the gym, has a new GLP-1 plan specifically for their weight loss medication using members. One of our megatrends this year is about how exactly this, how brands that may be affected by this medication being really a part of their customers' lives, they're going to have to pivot and figure out new ways to make money, essentially. Do you fear that in the hotel space for hospitality, food and beverage revenues might be hurt by customers losing interest in eating and drinking?
I don't think so, because I think eating and drinking is not only about stuffing yourself with bad things.
Right.
There's a whole aspect of eating and drinking, and especially in restaurants, that has to do with social interaction, being together, being in a place that is fun, and there's music and lighting. There's a lot of other aspects to being together. And, when I grew up, eating and drinking was about sitting with the family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You said you grew up in rural Michigan. I'm sure there was meals, everybody was sitting at the table.
Very much so.
So that's part of eating and drinking,
Yeah.
and I think as this medication evolves, and I do not think it'll affect us. On the club side, I actually think people realize, and if you read some of the what was been written about it, as people use it, they lose weight, they lose body fat, and they lose muscle mass.
Yeah.
And there's a recommendation actually that combined with a good and strong exercise program, it's even more effective.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can't stay all life on this medication.
Oh, you can.
Well,
You're supposed to.
okay, but there's a big recommendation of actually exercising with it. I
Yes,
think the exercise
that's true.
component
Yeah.
is actually going to strengthen. And
Yeah.
weight training is a huge part of that versus just cardio.
So talk to me a little bit about like the soft medicine side of what Equinox Hotels is doing. I've read and I've seen some pictures about how you offer IV therapy. Tell me about that. I've never done it. I don't know, I think I would feel strange about having somebody put an IV in my arm at a hotel. But tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Because we had this discussion when we talked last week.
We did.
And
Convince me.
You thought it was the room service waiter who's going to do it.
I wasn't sure. I don't know.
No, these are registered nurses these are part of a medical company that's actually a third-party company we work with.
Okay.
It's incredibly popular.
Yeah.
And you could argue, but there's people that are huge believers and enjoy the benefits of it. It's in our spa, so in combination with a massage or a facial or people go in, we have these pods overlooking the trains that come in from Long Island in Hudson Yards.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there and actually some people have a glass of champagne with it. But it's just a relaxing thing that makes people feel better and gives either the jet lag, hangover, whatever it is.
I was going to say, what does it do? What can it help me with?
It gives your blood immediate vitamins, whatever's in the mix, depending on what you pick, and it's intravenous, so it goes fast.
Interesting.
So come and try it, and then you'll judge.
Yeah, then we'll talk. We'll talk after. So, tell me a little bit about. You say you're expanding. What mistakes do you think that your competitors, I guess, are making when it comes to wellness? Like when you roll out, what are you not going to do? What are they doing wrong?
I don't know if they're doing wrong. I don't know, wrong is maybe too strong of a word, but they just don't know. So what we have done is we have combined 30 years of experience on fitness and well-being and wellness.
Sure.
Okay, and there's a huge amount of knowledge in that piece of the brand. And then you combine it with hospitality, and if you think in the luxury or lifestyle space, there hasn't been really anybody who has truly innovated anything that's truly separate. There are versions of it, some better, some worse, but they don't really understand how to do this. And if you think of the skill set in hospitality versus skill set in clubs, community, wellness, well-being, they're very different businesses, and combining them is very unique and very difficult to do. So it's not that they make mistakes, but so they don't know or they don't live the lifestyle. So if I sell you luxury, but I don't know how to live luxury, I'm not going to be very good at it.
Right.
So I just don't think some of them really understand how to do this.
What mistakes maybe have you made in the last 3 years?
I think if I could do different, we're in a tower that has a very small footprint.
Okay.
We combined residential, hotel, food and beverage, club. There's a lot of stuff happening. In order to service all those areas, there's a lot of elevators, and the transportation gets very, very complicated. If I could streamline that a bit better, I would do that.
Okay. Anything else? We talked a little bit about mini bars before. I thought that was really interesting.
It's kind of the private bar. It's not. No, we did very well there actually.
Yeah.
Another big debate was desks or no desks in rooms. We took them out.
You took them out. So you're not trying to court the business traveler?
No, but the business travel doesn't work like they used to work in the 80s and 90s, where you sat at a desk with, they sit on the bed with an iPad while they watch TV and they multitask and they do it that way. Having said that, we changed and we spent some more money in morphing the tables we put in, so you could actually higher and lower them and can use them as a desk if you choose to. So we corrected that.
We talked a little bit earlier about AI and how you at Equinox are possibly using that. What are you doing there, and is that helping the personalization push? We've heard a lot about personalization from other fols today.
It'll just help. I think I'm a very pro AI. I think it's amazing what it does, and I know there's a lot of fears, but I remember sitting here in the '80s and people feared conferences being digitally distributed, and it would be the end of the hotel business and the conference business. It wasn't.
Right.
And so every time you have a new big invention, it's the end of the world, and then we find out it's not. It helps you because it allows people to concentrate on the customer more, and to concentrate on the team members more, and less on stuff that AI can do. And so I think you'll see that shift happen more and more.
Are there any specific applications that you're using now in the business that have maybe eliminated, unnecessary work?
The regular ones that you would know about. But I talked to a guy who's coming in actually next week. We're getting all of the core department heads together, and he's an AI specialist. He sits in a little room and he spends his time inventing programs.
Right.
And he's going to talk to everybody for 2 hours and teach us how each discipline, sales, marketing, design, operations, should look at AI and use it to become better at what they do. And so we want to keep morphing with this.
How do you feel about that?
I'm the one who organized it, so I love it.
So great, yeah. So tell me a little bit about how the gym, or you call them clubs?
We do.
Yeah, how the club really has impacted the hospitality in your hotel.
The best way I could describe it is that a club by definition caters to a local community. If you don't live or work next to a club, you're probably not going to use it. It's like your laundry. You want to be close and.
Right.
A hotel, by definition, caters to a traveler. Very few people, like you said, I stay in New York and never go to a hotel.
Right.
So when you travel, and for those of you who travel, when you go to a hotel, usually one of the first things you do is you go to see the concierge, and you ask them for a good local restaurant. You probably don't stay in the hotel because you want to mix with the local community.
Right.
If you look at our club in Hudson Yards, we have over 5,000 members. 5,000 members in that one club.
Right.
We have 1,500 people going in and out of those doors. By definition, they're engaged, active, and after they go to the club, they usually change and they go to the bar or the restaurant, and there's this seamless experience of lifestyles. And so the mix and energy you create between local community and hotel guests is pretty spectacular. It's one of the big differentiators, I think.
Personalization, we just touched on it a little bit. That's a huge push in the hospitality community. Tell me, and I guess it's a huge push everywhere. Like when I go to the dentist now, I walk into the room and it says, "Hello, Sarah," and it has whatever Netflix show I want to watch while I'm getting my teeth cleaned. What is Equinox doing on the personalization front? How are you catering to me, Sarah Kopit, when I come into your hotel when I come to visit?
So first of all, I don't think that's new in hospitality.
Right.
When I grew up in luxury innkeeping. The first lessons you would learn is know your customer. Right. Luxury starts with 300 pages of guest history. It was just manual, and we spent a lot of time having cardboard 3x5 cards or pages worth of likes, dislikes, all of that. So the ability to seamlessly anticipate, so you can do delight and surprise, has always been part of luxury innkeeping. AI just helps you do it much better and quicker. Right. And so as it's in our DNA anyway, we just use different digital tools to get quicker and better at it. But it's in the delivery really, I think, where you see true luxury. The dentist, it's interesting, I was asked to speak to New York dentists back in the 90s about customer service. So it was already in their mind, like, how do I get Sarah back into the chair? But the ability is really in the delivery, in the human touch, and when the people deliver that, whatever they do, how that is done, it's a bit like the quality of an actor on stage.
Yeah.
If it's really well done, it makes you feel so incredibly good that you're willing to pay another $10.
Absolutely. I was delighted by that little note by my dentist. Truly, I was. I remember it.
Because you were surprised.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I absolutely was. Which, you think about it, I shouldn't be. But let's talk about real luxury. I was in one of our megatrends. We were talking, Colin, who I know you talked to.
Yeah, I love Colin.
How he was talking about how truly the optimization of our human bodies really is what luxury is about, 2024 style. How do you see it? How are you defining luxury now as we go out maybe into the next 5 years?
So I think I've spoken on luxury for about 30 years. Like, what is luxury? So people are always obsessed. One of the things that really defines luxury is quality. So it has to be, whatever it is, it has to be high end and rare. It can't be mass market, otherwise it doesn't fit the luxurious experience. So I think what people have come to realize, one of the rarest things we have in our busy lives is time.
Ah, yes. We talked about that.
And it doesn't matter how old or how rich you are, you have 24 hours in the day. So you've got to figure out how you want to use them. The second thing we all have one thing of is our body. And so people in the new generation, like my kids my kids are in their 30s, the way they think about luxurious experiences, travel, fashion, they're very different from when we grew up in the 60s and 70s. And they're very conscious of how important health is. And so I think the luxury definition around well-being, mental, emotional, and physical, has become very important. And so people do a lot of things to be biohacking, making sure that they don't get sick. So you go to the gym because you don't want to go to the doctor.
Right.
And so I think that there's a huge switch in that. The question then is, what is nature luxury? I think certain parts of nature will be luxury. Natural experiences at the highest execution will be the ultimate luxury. Clean water, clean lakes, clean mountains at the best are going to be ultimate luxury. So I think those are all things that tie in. But look at how people buy food. Like, I went to Whole Foods today quickly. And you walk through the aisle, everybody looks at the label, what is inside.
Yeah.
And they want to be very conscious of what they put in their bodies.
Yeah.
And so I think the luxury will move towards wellness and well-being in a larger sense, for sure, and it'll continue.
Speaking of the younger generation, I do want to ask about sustainability. When I think about luxury, a lot of it has to deal maybe with excess a bit. And can luxury truly be sustainable? Like, really? Or is there a part of that luxurious experience that's always going to have kind of that extravagance that maybe isn't so great for the environment?
Yeah, so I think it's a great point you're making, and we can talk about it when we talk about sustainability. I grew up in Switzerland, in the Swiss culture, and sustainability back then already was a big thing. I often talk about content-defined luxury. The luxury that's, if you were a car, what's under the hood versus what's outside. So luxury doesn't have to necessarily be wasteful. Actually, I think good luxury is not wasteful. I think dumb luxury is wasteful. And so I think if you go to some cultures who are very evolved and developed, the way they consume luxury, look at Switzerland, look at the Japanese, for example, less is more. It doesn't have to be gilding the lily that is as necessarily luxury.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, luxury is very cultural, and different countries, different cultures define luxury in a very different way. So if you grow up in the desert and you have nothing, being in a palace that is all gilded feels like luxury.
Yeah.
So if I go through airports, the luxurious airports to me are airports like Zurich, which are clean, well designed, but efficient. The efficiency is the luxury, because I save another hour that would be painful.
I'm sensing, I'm going to channel Rafat here for a moment. What is your favorite airport?
Zurich or Munich, the new terminals.
Yeah, why? You told us about Zurich. Why Munich?
Because because I just was in Munich last week. I flew back through Munich, and then with the new section, and it was a bit like Zurich. I mean, the planning was spectacular.
Yeah.
And the choice of materials, it's not about shiny gold. It's about, oh my God, this is going to last a long time. It's really well done. It's easy to clean. I mean, it's just all just like very thoughtful.
Yeah.
But the way the whole process of going through the various gates and doors and all of that was just spectacular.
It's a very European answer, I think, if I can stereotype.
Just my subjective. It's like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Chris. It was so nice to have you here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.